All right, Sony has invited press to an event on September 7th in New York City to announce, obviously, the PlayStation Neo. This is the step-up console from the PS4, which was dubbed PS4.5.
Nerdiest name.
I didn't do it.
Nerdiest name.
Did you do it?
No.
It's not your fault. It's not my fault.
Not the PS5.
It's not the PS5.
The PS4.25.
Could be, feels like it. Maybe like a 0.37, something like that. So check out the rumored specs. Rumored specs for the PlayStation Neo. 4K graphics for games in Ultra HD 4K Blu-rays. It'll rock a 2.1 gigahertz AMD processor with Jaguar cores. Which I guess that's like the cat-like reflexes.
They're not quite leopard cores.
Right, we're not there yet.
No.
8 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, which is pretty good. Well, 16 would have been better. Support for all current games existing on the PS4 right now. So you're not going to buy this thing and not be able to play a game that had been on PS4, and vice versa, right?
I was super worried about that. Thanks for clearing that up.
Well, it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. Like, people are like, oh, I'm not going to be able to play a PS4 Neo game on my PS4. No, don't worry. They're all going to work.
Yeah.
The catch, though, is that PS4.5/Neo games probably going to look and perform better.
Okay.
So there's that. The event's coming up. There's really not a ton to talk about with that, just because we've known about this for so many months going in. My biggest question is, will this impact/improve PlayStation VR? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's something they're holding back. The messaging has been a little cloudy on whether or not they're going to do that. So for me, and don't forget, PlayStation VR comes out October 13th. What's that going to look like? Is this going to be really the system you want to play it on? Maybe not so much on standard PS4s.
Especially since the specs for Oculus Rift and HTC Vive are, I think, considerably higher than what a PlayStation 4, if the PlayStation 4 is a PC.
Absolutely are way higher, yeah. So you would imagine maybe that PS4.5 catches up. It's still nowhere near the modern state-of-the-art GPUs, but maybe it narrows the gap just a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to say, if they do make it, slightly better, is that going to be now, immediately, or are developers going to take a while to implement that extra VR horsepower, and maybe it'll be a couple years down the road before you start to see differences between the two?
Totally, and there's a lot to unpack here. It's not something we can do in the few minutes we have here, but the way you got to think about it is, Sony basically told all the developers who make video games, they said, look, we got this more powerful thing coming out in a couple months. Mm-hmm. They're kind of decreeing that everything that comes out, I believe it's October or September, anything that comes out that month and beyond must support both sort of spec sets, right? Yeah. So like, this game's got to work a certain way on Neo, and it's got to work a certain way on PS4 vanilla.
I'm curious if they can get it to actually make regular games, who cares about VR, make regular PS4 games look really good. I mean, if there's some trick they can do.
Like backfill that.
Do what a PC gaming rig can do, and just up and make it better with 4K. Obviously,
for sure.
Take advantage of the fact that it's got 4K resolution instead of just make it look exactly the same as a PS4.
We'll see how it all shakes out. September 7th, not that far away.
A few questions
are wondering. Of course, it's the same day as the iPhone 7 thing. I swear to God, these guys just want us dead.
Which one's more exciting, gang?
Oh, it's iPhone and PlayStation.
I don't know. What's the lesser of two evils right there?
Jerry wants to know why should he buy Neo if he doesn't own a 4K TV, which is probably a relevant question.
Oh, yeah.
It's a relevant question. I think you are still gonna get graphical improvements on your regular TV. Like, that's something that it's tough to sort of suss out. I think we kind of
won't know until we can test them. Yeah.
What's that?
We won't know until we can actually look at it.
Yeah, for sure. Odds are you're going to get better performance coming from a PS4 to a Neo. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to get it. Mm-hmm. So we'll sort of be able to suss that out once we get our hands on it. But on paper, the reason you'd want to upgrade is to get that graphical jump up from a PS4, plus possibly future-proof yourself if you do one day want to buy a 4K TV.
Yeah. Then we have two Xbox-oriented questions, too. Agent wants to know if you guys think Microsoft's right now hyping up their plans for people he doesn't want to go to Xbox One S, but I guess he's thinking about the one after that for next year.
Right.
Then Nick wants to know if he should switch from PlayStation If he only has a PlayStation,
that's a you question.
Right. But those are machines, so
whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, like, switching consoles, that's kind of up to you. You got to go by like the value and the games. Really, for me, it's the games. Like, if the games that you want to play are on one platform, go to that platform.
And if all your friends are on one platform, that's another big thing.
Exactly. Being able to play with them, with your friends, is a big deal. So most people like to play on the same platform their friends are on. When it comes to, what was the first one? If Xbox is ramping up their...
If they are trying to like hype up, I guess by putting out like, hey, we're doing this, but next year we have this bigger system.
Yeah, it's definitely strange that Xbox One S kind of was out with the knowledge that Scorpio is on the horizon. Mm-hmm. I think their hand was forced a little bit in terms of having to be transparent about what their roadmap looks like. Nevertheless, any kind of publicity for those guys these days in this generation of consoles is probably good. They have not been able to sell as many consoles as Sony has. So, yeah, we're going to talk...
That's a good segue, right? I mean, Scorpio seems to me like, the question mark here, because it's still the one nobody's defined yet.
Right, and that really is the way it's sort of shaping up, right? Mm-hmm. The landscape is Scorpio's coming out late next year. Mm-hmm. The current Xbox One is likely going to drop in price. PlayStation 4 Neo seems like it's going to be a thing this year. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, how does it all, kind of shake out?
Yeah.
I guess another question we're getting a lot is who should buy the Xbox One S? And kind of said nobody.
Well,
maybe.
The thing is, we were talking about HDR before, so the Xbox One S is currently the cheapest 4K Blu-ray player. Mm-hmm. So this happened with PS3. It was the cheapest Blu-ray player.
Right.
And it was by far the best at the time, and it helped really make Blu-ray a decent, relevant format for a few years. I think Xbox One S doesn't really have that same sort of opportunity just because streaming is so much more popular now than discs. But if you're that guy that just bought a 4K TV and you want to have the best, video quality experience, the Xbox One S is less expensive by, $75, $100 than the other 4K Blu-ray player by Samsung that's out right now. So that's one reason.
Sure.
But it's a pretty niche reason.
It's a pretty niche reason, and you and I had certainly an interesting time trying to get it to work the right way. Mm-hmm. Took a really long time to get HDR to play right.
Yeah.
Even things as simple as like getting that 4K resolution to first sort of show up involved a bunch of updating and unplugging and handshaking and whatnot.
And playing in the settings menu. And there's a lot of stuff in there that's tough to comprehend.
You're going to have to dive a little deep. It's not very user-friendly.
Right.
Someone brought up before about HDR in games, and is that a thing? Mm-hmm. It is, but Xbox is only going to have 3 games that support it kind of out of the gate, and I believe that's Forza Horizon 3, Gears of War 4, and then next year a game called Scalebound. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 games that are going to support HDR. Is that worth the new TV, the new Xbox? Probably not, unless you have a kind of disposable income.
Yeah.
So think about it like that. Xbox One S, weird kind of system. It's the best looking one they've ever made.
There you go.
Give you that. It's a sexy little box if you're into that. So that's where we're at. Any other questions?
Yeah, Agent wants to post you guys with so much news about the future. There's always rumor, speculation, news going on. Who do you think would be the victor if we can declare one? It's a little early. And does it really matter in the long-term future of gaming?
Well, I think it does if you're looking to see like where these companies go next. Are they talking about a victor between Xbox Project Scorpio and Neo?
Sounds like they're targeting the future with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you got to look at the way it is now. These are not brand new consoles. They're simply step-up consoles. So PS4 right now is the better-selling console. In my opinion, it is the better experience, and they do seem to have the better library of games. Yeah. So I would imagine that trend would follow through in the next 4 or 5 years, however long we're headed with this sort of lifespan.
But the wild card and Scorpio's advantage is the fact that it's coming out later. They can give it better specs, and they can tell the developers like take advantage of these better specs, and maybe will that manifest more in VR?
Right, exactly, which is a big part of this,
and which is such a crazy resource hog. Like to make a good VR experience requires crazy good hardware. So I think at least there's that Xbox's later release date with Scorpio gives them a potential advantage on paper.
For sure. I think they are a little further out
Yep.
in terms, I think calling it a holiday 2017 thing is sort of wishful thinking. I hope it comes out then and it sees the light of day then, but
If you're a betting man, no, holiday 2017?
I think it would really put them at a disadvantage if they weren't able to meet that. So
it'll come out no matter what.
I'm hoping it comes out, even if
Yeah.
it doesn't have a fourth wall. It doesn't matter. Bring that thing out.
David, about how much do you think it's a question from earlier, but it bridges over now. Somebody wants to get a television that would take advantage of the 4K gaming, and maybe if HDR color can get into there, how much do you think they'd be spending about now if they wanted a TV?
Well, there's a huge range. So right now, my favorite TV for the money is a Vizio P series that starts at $1,000 for 50 inches, and it's 4K. It's got both HDR formats, great picture. The very best picture, though, is OLED, which is a lot more expensive. LG's OLED TVs.
But man, that thing is good.
I mean, it's so good. You're like, man, maybe I can't afford $2,500.
Maybe I should remortgage.
Yeah, so the 65-inch OLED is between $5,000 and $6,000 now for this generation, and spectacular picture, but way out of most people's price range. So most people are buying LED LCDs. That Vizio is really good. You don't like the Vizio? There's a Samsung that's pretty decent, a Sony that I reviewed recently. If you go on the website, you'll see them. But yeah, I mean, all those TVs are as future-proof as they can be. They've got the hardware. The hardware's still ahead of the software, the TV shows and movies at this point. And the games, you just cited only 3 HDR games. So, you buy one of these TVs, you're going to be set.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I feel like we always have to kind of like pepper in these disclaimers. Xbox One S, right now, you cannot play native 4K games. That is not a thing. All that's happening is an upscaling.
Yep.
So keep that in the back of your mind.
One other question we got.
Sure.
It's more kind of, it's a joke, but a good joke.
Okay.
Do either of you own a tube TV? I actually still do because it's the only one that my PlayStation 2 will connect to.
My parents have more than they should in their house.
Wow.
Yeah, they
That's
have
a
like,
big negatory.
I think they have 2.
Yeah.
And I've tried. It's just a lost cause with them.
Just one day, just take it out to the curb and don't tell them.
It's heavy. Don't you
Yeah,
forget how
that's the
heavy they
problem.
are, man.
Yeah.
They've got like a 40-inch, and that's
Yeah.
not light.
No. 40-inch tube? That
Yeah.
Mitsubishi, right?
Yeah,
oh,
the
that thing is a
Mitsubishi.
crazy
Oh, it's
television. That was the
insane.
largest television made, I'm pretty sure.
I was like turning it into a fish tank or something.
Yeah, no,
like,
that thing, that's you can't even get that out of the house.
Right.
Yeah,
We
you're
just
gonna
have to
sell
like
the house.
we have to like start
around
sawing it in half
Yeah,
and
no.
taking it out by pieces.
That's a beast.
It's crazy. All right.